last episode, I talked a little bit about the adventure that I've been having about writing this article about the Continental Divide Trail. I started off in southern New Mexico, and I've worked my way all the way up to Montana, and that's where I am recording from right now, is just in between Helena and Butte. So it's a dramatic change of venue from the desert where I've spent the last 6 or 7 months. And honestly, I have missed it. I've missed seeing green things. I've missed water. We got up to, I believe it's called Clark Canyon Reservoir. And that was the first time my dog was able to swim in, 7-8 months at least. It was just incredible to see standing water again, and swans and fish jumping and all sorts of stuff. So I realized that I am more of a water person. I like greenery and mountains, and I can tolerate the desert as long as it means I don't have to be freezing my butt off for most of a winter. But at some point you get sick of the desert, you get sick of the monotony, and you need a change of venue. And even coming up through Utah, through the Canyonlands, and then going into Idaho, there's still quite a bit of desert. There's a lot of badlands. Idaho was kind of nice because I got to go to hot springs. I was in Lava Hot Springs. But anyway, I'm kind of going off into the weeds. What I wanted to talk about from Montana, as I hear mosquitoes buzz outside of the bus, so it's not perfect, but it definitely has its perks, is I wanted to talk about the big problem that I've got, especially after this article has been finished. I don't feel like I have a lot of direction. It's like that article was really just kind of leading me, and I had a purpose, I had a direction, I knew where I needed to go before a deadline, and I have been kind of going through this like withdrawal almost, or a letdown. Kind of reminds me of in college when I would finish finals week and then I would just crash out. And it kind of feels like that. For the last couple of days, I've just really been kind of hanging out in camp. We've been going on hikes. We went into Helena for a day and kind of looked around. And when we went into Butte, that was a little bit different because Butte had to do with the story that I was working on. So it was almost work. I was kind of on the clock. But Helena was just kind of like sightseeing and walking around, taking pictures. Really enjoyed the town. I don't know. It kind of seems to not like get a very good rap. So when I was looking up and doing some research about things to do in Helena, a lot of people said that the best thing to do in Helena is to leave Helena. And I thought that was just very unfair after I visited the town. It's a smaller city. They had a cute downtown area. They've got a lot of history. It's an interesting place. So if you're in the area, check it out. I send it a lot of love, and I think it's worth the trip. But I wanted to talk about second-guessing myself. And that's kind of what I've been doing, is after this article is done, I've got this kind of letdown, these withdrawals about, am I not being productive? What am I doing? And this is really just kind of a recovery phase where I'm just, I spent so much energy working on that article. I did 5 drafts of it. I took a lot more pictures than what I sent, but I sent the editor probably over 200 photographs that I'd taken for them to pick through. I did 5 drafts of the article. It wound up being 2,600 words. So it's one of my first big features. And I hope to talk more about it as I hear about, edits and like when they're going to publish and things like that. I believe they're going to publish in June. So it gives me a little bit of time to do any kind of revisions that they want me to do. But it was an incredible journey. I got to go along, I would say at least 2,500, 2,800 miles, just kind of threading my way through the Continental Divide Trail. Not on foot, but that wasn't what the article was about. You'll find out more about it when it comes out, and I'll crow about it and tell everybody about it. But today I just kind of wanted to talk about the second guessing part. And I'm kind of at a quandary right now where I have a great spot that I'm camped out at. The only bummer is it's just like what everything else has hit me throughout the desert. Pretty much it's the biggest problem about life on the road and van life and being a digital nomad is logistics. So you're always running out of things, you're always repairing things, and you're always replacing things. And I think there's like three big things that you're always going to be running out of and replacing. And that's going to be water, food, and fuel. And the other day, I realized that my propane tank, well, not the tank, but my cook stove is actually leaking a little bit. It's kind of got a faulty valve. And so what would normally be a month worth of propane leaked out in 2 weeks. So I'm out of propane in my big tank. I'm going to have to go get it refilled. I'm good on water because Montana's got this crazy thing that I haven't seen anywhere in decades. Colorado used to do this, but not anymore. Colorado's very much a pay-to-play state. But Montana has natural spring water that just comes out of the mountain, and they have these areas like available and marked so people can just go and fill up water jugs if they want to. It's free water. It's some of the freshest, cleanest, coldest mountain spring water. And everywhere else would probably have like a factory built over the damn thing, charging people through the nose to fill up plastic bottles that are just going to wind up in a dump. This is free water. You can just drive to the spring, get a fill up, take it home, and enjoy. So I've got water handled. Water's been a great thing in Montana. Food, I went into Helena, like I mentioned before, and I bought a bunch of food, so I'm good for at least a couple of weeks. I have kind of switched my diet to very mean rations, like I live off of a lot of beans and rice, which is fine. Oh, that was one of the cool things about Helena is they had this place, it's called like U.S. Chef Food Supply or something. And basically it's a chef supply store. And I bought 20 pounds of extra long basmati rice for around $20. And that bag of rice ought to last me about a year. And I know it was a little bit of a splurge. I'm on quite a bit of a budget, but I just couldn't pass it up. You don't get to see rice that good or fresh pretty much anywhere. So I bought a bunch of food. I bought a 10-pound box of dog biscuits for Penny because she goes through one of those 24-ounce boxes in about a week. So I'm hoping to kind of like slow her down and we don't have to always have to go into town to buy dog bones. That was actually the big reason why we went into Helena, was we were out of dog bones. Otherwise, I could have lasted a couple more days just out in the sticks. So anyway, went into Helena, got food and water and everything else like that. Realized the other day that I ran out of propane. So I've been using my little green bottles in reserve just because I don't feel like wasting the gas to drive into a place to get more propane. So the bummer is I'm kind of facing a dilemma right now because there is a front that's moving in. And that front is going to bring with it a snowstorm. And I really don't want to get stranded someplace without propane. So I'm kind of at a quandary right now if I move on because I still want to go up to Glacier National Park. The bummer about Glacier is right now that it's still pretty much buried under a glacier. And the Road to the Sun Highway or whatever, I don't know. I don't remember the name of the road. I'll probably remember it after I see it. But that's closed off. It's probably under about 30 feet of snow right now. And it won't even be open until about mid to late June. So I'm kind of debating, like, do I go to East Glacier or West Glacier? And then there's a matter of propane. There's a matter of, like, where to camp, the expenses in gasoline and time and food and everything else. And I think that other than this snowstorm coming up, I've pretty much just got itchy feet. I've been at this spot for about 4 or 5 days, and I think just part of me is just like wanting to get on the road and go. But the problem is when you're on the road, you're spending money on fuel, you're spending money on food, and usually you have to stop someplace and pick up some kind of supplies, and you can never just buy like one or two things. It's always like, oh, I'm going to throw some gummy bears in the cart, or I'm going to throw some pretzels in the cart, or something like that. Let me get a drink of coffee here. So getting back on the road has its drawbacks because it becomes expensive. The money that you're saving just being parked someplace just kind of evaporates when you're on the road, especially when you get 10 miles the gallon like I do in my bus. So what am I doing? I don't know. Each move is an expense and another day used. But also it's an opportunity to get to see cool things. Like the other day when I stopped off in Phillipsburg. A lot of people in Butte recommended Phillipsburg because they said that, like with all the TV shows, Yellowstone and everything else, they think they know what Montana is, but Phillipsburg is actually like the real Montana, according to them. And it's a cute little town. It reminds me a lot of my hometown, except it has, it's got a lot of really well-preserved architecture and buildings from the early 1900s, late 1800s. They've got tin ceilings, the kind of Gothic or late Victorian architecture and detail that they put into everything. Even their courthouse is amazing. It has a dome and a cupola and everything else. It's just an incredible little town. But, like a lot of other places, it's kind of a tourist trap. You go in to buy a gallon of milk and it's going to cost you $5, $6. So, again, it's got its drawbacks. And I was going to see the Granite Ghost Town. It's a little ghost town over by Phillipsburg. But it's still buried under snow and the roads were not really conducive to taking my bus into that kind of territory. So after my accident in Lordsburg, New Mexico, I've kind of learned my lesson about how to push the limits of my bus because it's my home too. And if it gets totaled, not only am I without a vehicle, I'm without a home. So that's somewhere you really have to tread lightly. So why do I have this need to push on? What am I doing? That's the big question. Should I stay or should I go? And I've seen so many things about what most people will never see. And that was kind of something I picked up from a lady in Phillipsburg. I've noticed too that when I'm on the road, I consider a lot of encounters that I have with people as very much serendipity or synchronicity. And sometimes people just say the thing that you need to hear at that moment. And as I was coming down after writing that article and soaking so much of my brain power into it and editing and talk about a whole kettle of fish when it comes to second guessing yourself. When you're editing your work, everything that you thought was good the first go around, you go back and you change it. I think I wound up with 2,700 words that I'd whittled down from nearly 5,000 words for this article. So there was a lot of work that I put into it. And that's kind of how I operate. Anyway, I went into this candy store in Phillipsburg. And it was reported to me by a lot of people that I ran into as the biggest candy store in Montana. And I thought, well, how could that even be possible? I've seen candy stores, these little small towns, these tourist traps. It's a town of like around 700-800 people. How big could this thing be? And I went into this building and I tell you, it was incredible. It was literally the biggest candy store I've ever seen in my life. It was all the old-fashioned globes and jugs full of candy and taffy, and they had a machine from 1906 that actually still wraps the taffy. And so I was talking to this lady that was there, and she kind of gave me an attitude adjustment on what I was doing. I had been so focused on working on this story for so long that I'd forgotten kind of the whole deal about what can drive me, what can motivate me about being on the road. And that's the fact that I'm lucky to do this. And I lived in sticks and bricks for, 46 years, 47 years. It's been a long freaking time. And the thing is most people will never see the places that my dog and I have seen. Most people might go on a vacation. They might go to Disneyland. They might go to, some theme park or a zoo, or, they might go to Florida or the big main attractions. They're going to see these things. They might get lucky. They might leave the country. They might get to see Europe. They might get to see, if they're really lucky, they might get to go on safari in Africa. But the thing is they're just getting the broad strokes of a lot of these places. And Penny and I have been lucky enough to be living on the road for nearly 2 years, and we get to travel slowly, and we get to see detail in such a fine level, at a local level. And we get to travel slowly and see these things and stop off at little places and read the little signs on all the historical markers if we feel like it. We get to camp next to the Flint River for 3 or 4 days like we did. And these are the places that are shown in movies and just kind of highlighted. Like right now we're camped not far from the place that was the inspiration for the movie A River Runs Through It. We're on the Little Blackfoot River, or Little Blackfeet River. And these are places that most people just fly by at like 65, 70 miles an hour. They'll never get a chance to stop. And today Penny and I went on a hike, and we did a 4-mile hike and got to see some just beautiful forest and hills and scenery and everything. Mountain crocuses are in bloom right now. Oh man, it's just, I am overwhelmed by how lucky I feel sometimes that I get to see these things that most people won't. And it's not like a neener ha-ha kind of thing. It's like, I hope that I can bring these experiences to people that might not otherwise get to have these experiences. They get to kind of live vicariously through me, because not everybody has the opportunity to get out on the road and live slowly and take in these things. And I'm hoping that I can inspire people to maybe add some of these destinations to their list of places that they would like to see, because we're not on this planet for a very long time. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So, all right, well, bear with me. I'm going to go through my notes. Let me get my glasses on here. So, that's one of the things that I've decided just needs to keep me going. It isn't always about chasing a story. Sometimes it's just about moving forward and finding new adventures and seeing new things and slow travel. It's also about talking to people and making that connection with strangers. And you meet some really cool people. You meet some really strange people. I talked with a lady at one store. She didn't blink the entire time. It was wild. It was like she stared at me, made direct eye contact, and we're having a conversation about like town and everything like that. She did not blink or look away. And it was a little bit unsettling, but these are the things that are really interesting, that kind of keep you going and keep your brain working. And it goes beyond, well, all right, let's kind of get into a story here. I stopped at a place that was a B&B for a while. I didn't stay at the B&B. I stopped there because it's now a bookstore. Nice elderly lady runs the bookstore. Her husband has some health problems. She takes care of him. She meets people that come in to buy books. Sweetest lady. And our politics probably didn't align. But we were on such a level of humanism where we were able to have a conversation and realize that our politics, conservative versus liberal, generational, were not in alignment, but we just kind of didn't talk about that kind of stuff. And I know that she had her opinions and I had mine, and I see so much division and so much tribalism involved with people having to take a side for everything that I think that we begin to lose our humanity. We begin to lose our empathy, and we lose sight of the fact that what we should have for each other is compassion. And I think that when you live slowly and when you go and meet new people, and especially if you travel outside of your comfort zones and outside of your country and your home state and your home county and your hometown, you get to see a different perspective, and you don't go around and evangelize to people. That's not the way to do it. You go around and you listen to people, and if you disagree with them, keep your mouth shut. You're kind of a guest in their house, and they're a guest in your life too. So I think if we maintain civility and we lead by example and compassion, I think we can change minds a lot better than we can just screaming at each other. It's about more than just living cheaply. It's also about living very richly. And if you prioritize experiences over things like material possessions or prestige about places that you've gone, Lord knows I dated a girl that she had all these stamps in her passport, but most of those came from just getting off the dock of the cruise ship that she was on, walking like 100 yards into this other country, just long enough to get a stamp on her passport, and then getting back on the floating casino and going on to the next place. I mean, is that really experiencing the culture of a country? I don't think it is. And I think that's not a very deep level of experience. That's more like prestige travel. Sorry for the coughing. Got to drink some more coffee. But anyway, for now, I struggle with what to do and keeping an eye on the weather and a list of things that break or need to be replaced or need to be restored, or where to camp next and what that campsite might be, and if it's going to be level, if it's going to have internet connection so I can work, if it's going to have no internet connection so I can work and I'm not on, Instagram or TikTok or whatever. But I think what it all boils down to is those moments where I'm just afraid to take that next step forward, to go to the next place, because I'm uncertain about it. I don't know if it's going to be a good campsite. Like the campsite that I've got right now is incredible. I have enough internet that I can work, and I have such a bad signal that I can't watch movies or really scroll TikTok all day. It's such a sweet spot, and it's beautiful here, and the sunsets are incredible. But I think little things are telling us it's time to move on. Like the mosquitoes have started to come out, and these suckers are giant. I have never seen mosquitoes this big in my life. Montana mosquitoes do not mess around. But I think that that's little omens that you start to pick up, little details, almost like an augury, almost like orthinomancy or whatever they call it, where you watch birds and you try to figure out your fortune from that. And I think the important thing is that sometimes you just have to take that leap of faith to go to the next place. And the next place for me is going to take me north towards Glacier. I don't know how long it's going to take to get there, but I do know that that's a vague general destination, and that the journey is really what I'm here for. So the internet doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exactly level. It'd be nice to go someplace that didn't have mice coming into the bus, because boy, that was one of the things that I got really sick of in New Mexico, was the frickin' mice coming in. And I finally got them all trapped recently. And I think they were living in the bus somehow. But I finally trapped them all in Idaho. Anyway, back to the profound statement, and then I'll shut up and you can go on to the next podcast or finish your walk or think about the things that I've talked about. But I think it's important to take that leap of faith and to push your comfort zones and know that the next place that you might go, it might not be perfect. It might not be as good as the place that you just left, but it's going to be perfect in its own way. It's going to be a new experience. And it's going to be a challenge that once you overcome that, the rest of your challenges just get that much easier. And your life becomes that much more fulfilled because you've lived it and you haven't just been sitting on your couch all day waiting for something to happen. So anyway, I hope you're good to yourselves. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe, share with your friends, and throw a donation my way. Help keep some gas in the tank. Until next time, thank you.